they have to win these next 5 games or 4 of them. They have to get in line, ready to play, button up, play well, win situations, and win these games. They're all winnable games. I think most of us would agree with that. I think it's very important for him in recruiting. I think it's very important for him the way he's perceived by this fan base. The majority of our fan base likes Mike Norvell an awful lot. Even the ones that would question some moments, decision-making, those kinds of things, right? They still, I think they still believe in Mike because he's successfully flipped the culture, because the team does play hard, because they are appreciably, as I like to say, better than they were a year ago. We've seen those moments of incremental improvement, right? And we see how hard they fight. So I just don't think anybody wants to start over. But at the same time, you got to win here, man. You have to win here. This is Florida State.
Yeah, one of the things that came up during the watch along, and I thought it was a good thought from Dominic Robinson, which is, you could see the progress, but that feeling and that knowledge is a day-by-day deal. If you don't validate what we're seeing in these losses by taking advantage of teams that are worse than you down the stretch here, then you are going to come back to where we are today, which is you let one slip and you let chances to win meaningful football games slip through your fingers because of self-inflicted wounds. And now that becomes your identity. But the full picture of the 2022 season is not in view yet. We've got a huge chunk of it.
These 5 games are of vital importance.
I like what I'm seeing so far. Sounds like you like what you're seeing so far out of this group. But you have to go and do what you're supposed to do now, which is, I agree with you. I think 4 is the number, provided that you don't have...
You can't go 7-5, Tom.
Crazy injury luck again, provided that something like that doesn't happen. Yeah, these are teams that you should beat, and so go do it.
Oh, without question. You're better than Miami. You're better than Florida. You're better than Georgia Tech. You're better than Louisiana. Probably better than Syracuse. We'll see. I don't know. It might be a coin flip game, but
if it's a night kick in the Carrier Dome, we'll see. Strange.
Right? But you're better. You're better than the teams that I just listed. So go win the games. Go win the games. And by the way, I don't think it's crazy to think they will. Again, I'm not that angry about this game. There are a couple of things that I wish hadn't happened that frustrate me. But I'm not angry. I was angry about NC State, but I really found myself, even during this game, when it was clearly over, I'm glad we fought. It got interesting. Clemson tried to let us back in, and we fought hard enough to get back in. But was it 34-14 at one point? Yeah, at 34-14, I was thinking a lot about, A, don't get beat by 50, B, just for recruiting purposes.
Dabo was trying, too.
Oh, no, he wanted, sure he did, and he should. If I'm him, I try to run that up. He had to have been frustrated.
Yeah, the holding call on the walk-in touchdown is that's a legitimate foul, but they're very close in that moment.
Oh, they're
end
up
getting a field goal stop on that drive.
Yeah, they're about to blow us out.
Yeah.
And if I'm him, recognizing that Florida State is better, which he did after the game, first time I ever have to give him credit. If I'm recognizing that Florida State is a team on the come, that they're getting better, that they're better coached, that they're working hard, that they're
let this guy get players.
That's right. You're thinking to yourself, damn it, I don't need this. I don't need a fully functioning Florida State. Part and parcel to Clemson's run has been our demise, right? That's how these things become dynasties. The way I look at these next 5 games and the way I look at the program is when you hired Mike Norvell, obviously we've done all the analogies. I've talked about being in the back alley, drunk, laying next to the dumpster and all that stuff. We've had fun with it over the years, wanting to clean ourselves up and move to a nice neighborhood and get a good job and all that stuff. We have fun with it. But really, if you just use the age-old, walk before you run analogy, right? Like, you wanted to see, can we take some steps forward? Can we show signs that we're collectively getting it together? And that happened. That happened pretty quickly behind the scenes, not on the field necessarily with success, but behind the scenes, you began to see some of the things that were slipping through the crack be taken care of in a way that they hadn't been in a while. So right off the bat, you're saying, all right, Mike, let's see what you're about. What's your messaging? Do the players buy in? Are you consistent? It's all about consistency. Are you consistent day in, day out? Are you the standard every day? Because the players have to look to you for that until they take ownership. So can you get them to take ownership? Will they believe in you? Well, the only way they'll believe in you is if you're consistent. If that messaging remains the same after a big win and after a devastating loss. Turned out it was. Turns out it was, and they all bought in. Good, good. That's the first step. Now we're jogging. All right. These next 5 games are going to determine whether or not you can run and run for time. Now we're starting to compete. Now it's let's go. Big boy time. We show we can walk. We show we can jog. You got to run. And then when you run, you got to run and beat your time and then beat that time and keep running. That's what we're going to find out over these next 5 games. Are they ready to do that? Is the next season going to be that?
Yeah, they're split so far. Let's call it a 10-mile race. First few miles looks great. Oh, we're out. We're jumping the gun. We're ready to go. And then there are just little stretches where for some reason our time is terrible. It's rotten. It's awful. And that's the thing. We talked about this and documented it last year and after the LSU game as well, which is, look, we've got a bigger conversation to have down the line when they're good enough to have it. And that's, do we tighten up on the sidelines in key moments? Because there are points last year with 4th down decision making where you say, are we panicking? What's going on here? And then this year with the LSU game, how is this close? We're blowing them out. How do we find a way to be in a position where if they go for 2, we probably lose the game right then and right there with no time left on the clock? How do we get in that position? Well, they got the win. These are the important things. That was the retort. One day when they get a little bit better, then we're going to have to return to these bookmarks and say, is there a greater problem going on? We're close to that now. This 5-game stretch
will be very important.
If you play poorly in situations and lose these games,
we're going to have that
we're
conversation.
Here. We've arrived because we've shown that from the 20s to the 20s, we're good enough. Nobody runs on Clemson like we did.
Listen, and when I said that last segment that I got that way wrong, and I applaud them for their game plan and their ability to have run the ball, I don't mind being wrong about that. There was no evidence that we were going to be able to do that because Clemson hadn't provided any evidence that people could.
Yeah.
So I don't care about being wrong about that. That's a bravo moment for us. That's a great game planning moment for us, in that coaching staff. I think they were stunned by what Florida State was able to do running the ball. And
they communicated that to their local media today. They said, we just got beat one-on-ones.
Yeah, they didn't think it was going to happen.
Yeah.
That typically is a safe assumption when most of your defensive line is projected to get drafted in the first 2 rounds. It's a fair assumption typically.
So, and because they're teaching us here, offensively speaking, in this game, to a degree, what's possible. Now you do have to change the grading curve a little bit.
The next 5 games are of vital importance. It's going to give you the answers you desperately seek. Is Mike Norvell the right coach for this program? Does he have the right staff? You might be able to answer that in multiple ways. Mike's the right guy. He's got to fire some people. Could be that Mike's not the right guy. Go 2-3 in these next 5 games. I guarantee you most of this fan base will not want him back. So these 5 games are going to tell you all that you need to know about what Florida State is.